I welcome all of you to this video lecture series on fluid mechanics. This lecture is on topic 4 on mass conservation and Bernoulli's equation. This lecture 13 is on mass conservation, which corresponds to the topic 4. We know that mass can neither be created nor destroyed. So if you consider a fixed mass system, rate of change of mass is equal to 0. However, the mass conservation that we'll be considering here in fluid mechanics, it will be shown to you that for a fixed mass system, although the rate of change of mass is equal to 0, but for a fixed region or fixed control volume considered in fluid mechanics, this rate of change, which is a single term in a Lagrangian system, in an Eulerian system when we apply in fluid mechanics, it's get converted into two rate of change. The first rate of change of mass stored inside the control volume, and the second corresponding to the net mass flow rate leaving the surface of the control volume. So in the first term, you have variable as mass, whereas in the second term, you have mass flow rate as a term, where mass is directly proportional to the volume and mass flow rate is directly proportional to surface area. So this way we'll apply the mass conservation to a control volume which is reasonably large, and we do an analysis here which is called as integral analysis. So while applying the mass conservation, we will consider the mass flow rate coming in and out of the control volume. Thereafter, we will consider the Bernoulli's equation. So this lecture on mass conservation, the learning outcome is that once you go through this topic, you should be able to apply conservation of mass equation to balance the incoming and outgoing flow rates in a flow system. I'll present the momentum conservation based integral analysis considering an example problem of a water tank which has an outlet at the bottom, and at the bottom you have a bucket in which water is being collected as shown here. So this is a tank in which this is filled with water, and at a particular time instant, t is equals to t1, inside the bucket you have this much level of water. I will show you another time instant where, which is a later time instant, where the level of water has reduced from the tank and the level of water in the bucket has increased as shown here. So at a later time, T2, the mass of water in the bucket has increased, and in the tank, the mass has reduced. And this time T2 is after a time interval of delta T. So this T2 is equal to T1 plus delta T. So this two picture which I am showing you shows the level of water in the tank and in the bucket in which the water from the tank is collected over a time interval of delta T. So if you compare a fixed mass system, which is shown here by red lines. So this is the fixed mass which we are considering at time t, and this is the fixed mass which has moved. So we are here using a fixed mass system. So you will see that the mass at time t1, mass of the fluid which is shown inside this red enclosed by these red lines, at time t1 versus t2, the total mass of the system at time t1, which is shown here as m system 1, is equals to m system 2. So you can see that the mass of the system is conserved. This is corresponding to a fixed mass system. So this red line is showing you the total mass of this liquid at two different time instants, which is equal. However, if we consider a fixed region system, which is called as control volume, then what we do is that basically we focus our attention to a fixed region Let us suppose we decide that we will take this rectangular region as the control volume. Now, when we use a fixed region or a control volume, at a later time instant also, the size of the control volume will remain same as shown here. So for a fixed region or a control volume, note that the dashed line which is being shown here at time t1 and t2, this region is same. However, inside this region, inside this control volume, the mass of the liquid at T1 and T2, they are different. At T2, the mass of the liquid within this control volume, within this dashed region, has reduced at T2. So mass of the control volume at 1 is greater than the mass of the control volume at 2. So if you compare over the time interval of delta T, the change in the mass, this delta is representing the change in the mass of the liquid inside the system, is 0, because the mass of the liquid within this red enclosed region is conserved. Whereas if you consider the change in the mass of the liquid within the control volume, this is equal to the mass of the fluid which is entering over that time interval of delta T minus the mass of the liquid which is leaving. In this case, if you see this case, mass of the liquid entering is 0. You may have a case where, let us suppose that from the top there is a rainfall and the water is entering. But in this case, you don't have any such case. So this mass of the liquid entering into this control volume is 0, whereas there is certain mass of the liquid which is leaving this control volume. So you will have, and so when there is no mass inlet, there is only mass outlet, and in that case you have a reduction in the mass of the fluid over the time interval of delta T. So the change in the mass of the liquid inside the control volume is a negative term here, because there is a positive mass outlet. So there is a reduction in the mass of the liquid, which is shown here as mass of control volume at 2 is less than the mass of the liquid at control at T, corresponding to T1. So this is shown for mass conservation over a time interval delta T. However, if we divide this expression by delta T, if we divide this expression delta change in the mass of the control volume is equals to mass entering minus mass leaving over a time interval of delta T. If we divide this equation by delta T as shown here and apply the limit delta T tends to 0, then this gets converted into dm control volume divided by dt, and this is equals to mass per unit time is called as mass flow rate at which mass is entering inside the control volume. This will become rate at which mass is leaving the control volume. So by dividing by delta T and taking the limit delta T tends to 0, you will get dm control volume by dt is equals to mass flow rate entering minus mass flow rate leaving the control volume. Note that there are two m which are shown here. This m, I'll call it as a curly m or curved m, and this m I will call as straight m. Note that both are in capital letters. I'll be using this symbol throughout this lecture series. So note the difference between the capital M. I'll be using two types of capital M. This curly M will represent mass and the straight M will represent mass flow rate. Note that this is left hand side here, derivative of time derivative of mass. On the right hand side, you do not have a derivative, but the term itself is mass flow rate. So as mentioned, this curly M is mass and it is equals to density into volume. Note that I will be using two types of V. This curved V which I am showing you is representing volume. Later on I will show you if I use a capital letter straight V, then I'll call it as a volumetric flow rate. The straight time I'm calling it as a mass flow rate. All of you know the expression of mass very well. It's equal to the product of density into volume. Now here I am introducing an expression for mass flow rate. So if you know this expression, you can obtain the expression by taking an analogy that in case of mass, you have product of density into volume. In case of mass flow rate does not involve volume. It acts on the surface of the control volume. Mass is a volumetric term, it depends on volume, whereas mass flow rate is a flux term I had mentioned in my previous lecture. So mass flow rate depends on the area, whereas mass depends on the volume. So if you want to know the expression for mass flow rate, it involves density, area, and now here you have a volume, here you have an area. So the difference between the volume and area is a length scale, and moreover this is mass flow rate. So you have here in the what I had shown as a box, if you want to fill inside this box, the term which would come if you compare the volume and area and the rate term which is coming here, it should have a unit of length per unit time, that is a velocity. So the expression for mass flow rate involves density, which is common in mass and mass flow rate, and in mass flow rate instead of volume you have an area, and here you have velocity. However, the velocity that we consider here is a normal velocity, because in mass flow rate there are two vectors which are involved: velocity, which is a vector; surface is also a vector. Surface, because surface area, the direction is given by the outward unit normal vector. So when you take the dot product of these two, you get a normal velocity. So when you have u dot n vector, where n vector is the normal unit vector normal to the surface, outward normal to the surface. So here u dot n give you the normal velocity. So this un is the velocity normal to the surface of the control volume. So in the earlier slide I had shown you that change in the mass of the system over a time interval is 0. So if we take delta t tends to 0, we can say the change dm system by dt is equals to 0. We have also obtained in the previous slide dm control volume by dt is equals to mass flow rate entering minus mass flow rate leaving the control volume. Now if I take this from the left hand side, if I take this term to the right hand side, then I can also get right hand side as 0, and then I can equate this dm system by dt is equals to dm control volume by dt minus plus m out minus m in, which is shown here, is equals to 0. So basically I am reconverting this equation where I have right hand side as 0, and then I'm equating this to equation and I'm obtaining this equation. So with this, the purpose is to show you the relationship between the time derivative of a mass for a system and a mass for a control volume. So if you consider a control volume which is shown here, so this is your control volume. This region is called as control volume, and this is your surface of the control volume called as control surface, and this m in is the mass flow rate entering inside the control volume. This is the mass flow rate leaving the control volume. So here note that when we convert the rate of change of mass for a system to that for a volume, there are control volume, there are two terms. So for a fixed mass system, you have a single term, rate of change. This is a single term. But when you see the rate of change of mass for the control volume, there are two terms. This is called as rate of change of mass of the fluid stored inside the control volume, as shown here. Note the word inside. Rate of change of mass which is stored inside the control volume. So let us suppose if there is a time interval of delta t, then the mass of the fluid at T2 minus mass of the fluid inside the control volume at T1 divided by delta T. So this is the rate of change of mass stored inside the control volume. Whereas the second term represents the net mass flow rate leaving across the surface of the control volume. This is the net mass flow rate leaving across the surface of the control volume. Note the word across here. Note for this, note the word inside. For this term, note the word across the surface of the control volume. Also note that here in this term, there is the variable is mass, and here you have a mass flow rate. So I've started with an example problem of a tank where there is a drainage of liquid to a bucket, and I have shown that over a time interval of delta T, change in the mass of the system is equals to 0, whereas there is a change in the mass of the control volume which is related with the amount of mass entering and amount of mass leaving the control volume over the time interval delta T. Then we have divided by delta T and took the limit delta T tends to 0, and then we have got the relationship finally between the mass, the rate of change of mass for a system and the rate of change of mass for a control volume. Now let us take a problem corresponding to, so I started with the first problem for water drainage from the tank. Now let us say, consider a case where this is like a flow in a plane channel. This plane channel is made up of two horizontal plates. This is the bottom plate and this is the top plate, and the fluid is entering from the left side. And finally, this is what we call as a fully developed parabolic velocity profile. So let us suppose u is the velocity in this direction. Let me call this as x direction. So in this case, if you want to calculate the mass flow rate is equals to the density multiplied by the average velocity multiplied by area. Now area I am taking as, for a 2D situation, I am taking area is equals to h, the size of this channel perpendicular to this plane I am taking as unity. So this is area is h into 1. So you know that the mass flow rate is the product of density into normal velocity into area. So area I am taking as h into 1. The normal velocity is this u velocity, and note that here the velocity is varying. So to calculate the mass flow rate, we are taking the average velocity. Now what is this average velocity? That I will discuss. Suppose this is the x direction, horizontal direction, and this is the y direction. So what you find, this u, this velocity, the actual velocity u shown here is a function of y. So this can be expressed as rho integral of uy dy, and integral limit will be from 0 to h. So from this you can get an expression for u average. Density, we are considering the fluid here as incompressible. So the density is not a function of y. So that's why it has been taken outside the integral. And the density cancels down from the left hand side and right hand side. And finally you obtain the average velocity is equals to 1 by h integral of uy dy, and the limit of the integral will be 0 to h. So this is an expression for a 2D flow case where we have taken the area as h into 1. But in general, the expression for u average will be 1 by a integral of un dA, where the limit of the integral will correspond to the cross-sectional area. So with this, I have shown you the expression for most of the real world situation. You do not have a uniform velocity. The velocity is varying. And to calculate the mass flow rate, you have to take the integral, area integral, and from there you can calculate the average velocity. So finally, an expression for the average velocity is presented here, which is given as 1 by a integral of normal velocity dA. So here the inlet velocity is shown as uniform velocity. Now I will do a control volume analysis and demonstrate how we apply the mass conservation law for a control volume. So let us consider flow in a pipe where the fluid is entering at a constant velocity from the left side and it is leaving with a parabolic velocity profile as shown here. And so this is the inlet and this is the outlet, and the control volume that we will consider will pass through the lower surface of the top wall and the upper surface of the bottom wall, and the left surface of the control wall will be here. So this will correspond to our inlet, and the right surface of the control volume will be here. We'll take a rectangular control volume as shown here, shown by the dashed line. So this is your control volume, and if you apply, in this case, if you see the fluid inside this control volume, this is not changing with respect to time, because in this rectangular region, with respect to time, this is a steady flow situation where these velocities are not changing with respect to time, and for a steady flow, this term dm control volume by dt is equals to 0, and our general expression is dm control volume by dt is equals to mass flow rate entering minus mass flow rate leaving. So if this dm control volume by dt is equals to 0, then mass flow rate entering minus mass flow rate leaving should be equal. Now as far as the mass flow rates are concerned, note that if you take this control volume, the upper surface of the control volume is in contact with the solid surface, and the fluid cannot penetrate this solid surface, so no mass of the fluid can go out from the top surface. Similarly, if you see the bottom surface, in the bottom surface of the control volumes, similarly the fluid cannot penetrate this bottom wall, so this mass flow rate is also 0. This mass flow rate is also 0. So the mass cannot leave from the top wall and bottom wall, and whatever is entering, the same amount of mass flow rate has to leave. So if you apply this, the mass flow rate at the inlet will be equal to rho. Now in this case, the velocity is uniform. So if you do an integral, u infinity is constant, it will come out of the integral, and you will get rho u infinity into h. Whereas here in this case, it is equals to rho into u average into h. So this is the mass flow rate entering, and this is the mass flow rate leaving. So from this you can get an expression. We are considering the fluid as incompressible, so the density is uniform everywhere. So this rho will cancel down, the h will also cancel down, and you will get the average velocity is equals to u infinity. Now I would like to point out, I had mentioned in my earlier lecture, I have mentioned that the center line velocity is greater than u infinity. This is what I had mentioned in my earlier lecture. But here I can give you a appreciation that when we get an expression that the average velocity is equals to u infinity, which means that note that it is like area under this parabola should be equal to the area under this, which you get for the uniform velocity profile. So here note that the velocity is near to the wall as well as away from the wall, it is same. Whereas in this case, it is increasing from a 0 value to a certain value. And when you need to have the average velocity of this equal to the inlet velocity, then the center line velocity has to increase to make sure that integral of u dy is equals to u infinity into h. So if you substitute the expression corresponding to this parabolic velocity distribution And if you calculate U average, finally you can prove that for this problem, the center line velocity, which is the maximum velocity, it is 50% more than the inlet velocity. It is 1.5 times of U infinity. So with this, I had proved that the center line velocity is greater than the inlet velocity for two-dimensional incompressible flow in a plane channel. Other than the mass flow rate, we use another term which is called as volumetric flow rate, which is represented here by capital V. Note that there are two V's which I am using. The curly V, which I call as volume, the straight V, which I call as volumetric flow rate. This volumetric flow rate is equals to mass flow rate divided by density. The expression for mass flow rate is integral of rho u and dA. So when you divide by rho for an incompressible flow, it comes out to be integral of un into dA. So for a fixed mass system, note that the variables that you encounter is mass and volume, and the rate of change constitutes a single term. Whereas for fixed region or a control volume, you encounter variables as mass flow rate, volume, and volumetric flow rate. Note that I am using two types of capital M and two types of capital V. This I am calling as curly M, this I am calling as curly V or curved V. This I am calling as straight M, and this is calling as straight V. This is the mass flow rate, this is the volumetric flow rate, this is mass, and this is volume. And the relationship between the mass and volume is they are related by density. Similarly, mass flow rate and volumetric flow rate are related by density. So after presenting the relationship between the rate of change of mass for a system, control, volume, I have given the definition of the mass flow rate, volumetric flow rate, the average velocity, and then I'll present from the Reynolds transport theorem. I'll demonstrate that using the Reynolds transport theorem, that the relationship that we obtained earlier is what we can also obtain from Reynolds transport theorem. So in the previous lecture, towards the end of the previous lecture, previous topic, fluid kinematics, I had mentioned Reynolds transport theorem at the end of the lecture, where for any extensive property V and its intensive value, which is given by per unit mass, Reynolds transport theorem is given as in thermodynamics, you studied extensive properties and intensive properties. What is the difference between the two? Intensive property is independent of mass and extensive property is dependent on mass. So for any property which depends on mass, you can obtain its intensive property by dividing by mass. So in the Reynolds transport theorem, we use two symbols, capital V and small v, where capital V corresponds to extensive property and small v corresponds to an intensive property. So the Reynolds transport theorem was presented, dB system by dt is equals to d by dt of integral of rho b dV. Note that this is volume plus surface integral of rho b u dot n dA. For capital P, the extensive property as mass, note that the intensive property, which is given by capital B divided by mass, is equals to 1. So if you substitute B system is equals to M and small b as 1, the Reynolds transport theorem leads to this expression. Now, if you see this expression is the same expression that we have derived earlier, where this term integral, this is a volume integral of rho dV. So this is equal to mass of the control volume. So this is the time derivative of the mass of the control volume. This is the surface integral of rho u vector dot n is this will give you the normal velocity into dV. So this expression is same as what we have derived. this expression is obtained from the Reynolds transport theorem, which is a generic expression for correlating that rate of change of any extensive property for a system with an intensive property corresponding to a control volume. In case of a, we all of us know that mass can neither be created nor be destroyed. So the rate of change of mass for a fixed mass system is equals to 0, and so this so the right hand side also becomes equal to 0, and this term, the surface integral of rho u and dA, can be converted. This term corresponds to net outflux, net mass flow rate leaving the surface of the control, leaving across the surface of the control volume. So the net mass flow rate leaving across the surface of the control volume can be expressed as whatever is leaving minus whatever is entering. Note that you can have multiple inlets and multiple outlets. I will take an example problem in the later slide and I will show you. So I can write this surface integral in a generic form of the mass flow rate leaving, where I can have the area of the outlets multiplied by the normal velocity and density, and I can have the mass flow rate entering, which consists of the area of the inlets and the normal velocity corresponding to them. So in this slide I am writing the rate of change of mass for a control volume in terms of multiple inlets and outlets. This is the mass flow rate moving out and this is the mass flow rate entering. So I can write dmCV by dt is equals to summation of mass flow rate entering minus mass flow rate. So this is like rate of change of mass of a control volume is equals to total mass gained by the flow which is moving across the surface of the control volume. So if more mass is entering as compared to what is leaving, then you have an increase in the amount. So if there is a larger mass flow rate which at the inlet as compared to at the outlet, then in the control volume there will be a gain in the mass. Like in a tank, if the rate at which mass is entering as compared to what is leaving, then there will be increase in the level of water in the tank. In a tank, if there is a rainfall by which mass is entering into the tank, and at the bottom there is a drainage. So if there is a larger rainfall and the tank is receiving more amount of water from the rainfall as compared to what it is draining, then the mass of the mass of the liquid inside the control volume will increase. Whereas vice versa, if more mass is leaving out of the control volume. So dm control volume by dt is equals to summation of, if you have multiple inlets and outlets, then if let us suppose I is equals to 1, 2, it can be for multiple inlets and outlets. I am showing a general expression where these are corresponding to the inlets, mass flow rate for the inlets, which consists of density of the liquid which is entering at the inlet, and these are corresponding to the outlet. If you have a steady flow, then in that case this term is equals to 0. And moreover, if you have an incompressible flow, the densities for all inlets and all outlets, they are same, and so for all these densities for inlets and outlets are same for incompressible flow. So if you consider a steady incompressible flow, this term equals to 0, rho comes out and you get the, so for steady incompressible flow, your general expression is sigma uiai is equals to sigma uao. So I'll take an example problem. So it's showing that the product of the velocity and the area, the summation of that corresponding to an inlet and outlet. So let us suppose you have two inlets and one outlet, and the velocities corresponding to those are as shown here. So u1 is the velocity. So this u1 is the velocity, and this is the inlet. This is another inlet. There are two inlet, and there is a one outlet. So u1a1 plus u2a2 is equals to u3a3. That's shown. Note that this expression is for steady incompressible flow with multiple inlets and outlets. With this, I come to the end of this lecture. These are some of the reference books. Thank you for your attention.